Hi, this is Abul Hussain coming to you direct from London, the United Kingdom, and welcome to another episode of the SMMA Mastermind podcast, where we talk about how you can start or scale your digital marketing, your social media marketing agency. Now, if you are watching this interview outside of our Facebook group, make sure to find the link above or below this video, or go to smmamastermind.com, especially if you're in the agency space. Now, with that out of the way, I have a very special guest joining me. He's a master hypnotist, a celebrity hypnotist. He's been on telly. He's quite famous in the UK, actually, and he helps his clients to achieve their full potential. And what we are going to talk about today is how you can hypnotize your prospects, your clients to love you and buy from you. Jonathan Royle, welcome to the show.
Hi there, how are you doing? Okay.
Thank you very much for joining me. Now, for the people who might be watching this outside of the UK, for our international audience, or even for the people here at home, how about a little bit of an introduction?
All right, I try and keep it short because people can always go and check out my resume at magicalguru.com. In a nutshell, and this is like 45 years in 2 minutes, I was born on a circus in August 1975. At the age of 3 in 1978, I was Britain's youngest professional paid circus clown and featured all over the national media in the UK. By the time I was 10, I put my foot down and rebelled against my parents and said, I'm not being a clown anymore. But I still desired to perform, so what was my hobby of magic, an illusion like 𝗪𝗪𝗣𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 performing instead of clowning. And through that arena, I learned about sleight of hand, but also I learned about psychology. And that led me into the fields of fortune telling. And yes, most of it's fate, but the psychological techniques I learned there. And then along the way, by the time I was 14 in 1989, by lying about my age, although I came clean afterwards once I'd passed the exam, I managed to pass the exam and become the youngest ever person, once I owned up to them, to become a qualified clinical hypnotherapist with the Association of Professional Hypnotherapists and Psychotherapists, which it was a bit like the 𝗤𝗬𝗣𝗀𝗡𝗀𝗃. I was so impressed by the company that a few years later, I actually bought the rights to the company and the training course. And basically, I left school at 15, and ever since then, I performed on stage as a stage hypnotist. But the bulk of my work has been either with clinical hypnotherapy, helping people overcome habits, addictions, fears, and phobias, or in consultancy, helping people in the sales arena or advertising arenas to understand how to positively, I'm going to use the word positively, manipulate people, because manipulate sounds like a negative word, but
Sure.
Positively manipulate, steer and nudge people into realizing that it's your product or service they want to buy instead of one that may do the same thing but could be cheaper. Because it's not always about price, it's about one key thing, and that is eliciting, triggering, firing off the emotional need in your potential customer, so that you kind of don't have to sell them anything at that point. You've created a state of mind and body in them where they see what you're offering and they look at it and they decide that it's you or your company or your specific product or service that they want, even if there's a ton of people offering the same thing at different pricing, different offerings. It doesn't matter if they've emotionally connected with you and what you're offering. If they've decided that they resonate with what you're offering, then it doesn't matter how much someone undercuts you on price or how much longer they've been doing it. If they've connected with your offering, your service, your product, whatever it may be, then you suddenly don't have competition.
Right.
And that's one of the things people seem to forget when they start to try and market or sell something.
Well, that's a great introduction there, and you have segued straight into our topic here. Now, obviously, when people think about hypnotism and they think about, I mean, we've heard of NLP and manipulation and persuasion and Robert Cialdini and his principles of influence and all of that, right? I mean, I'm sure you don't need to kind of swing a pendulum in front of someone or show them the spinning thing to put them in trance. How do you apply the principles of hypnosis to essentially build a connection with people? What's the first step?
This is probably more than the first step. It's the first step, but also it's all the other steps together. It's the key, if you like. And once you understand the key, you can use that key, it's like a master key, a skeleton key, to open many, many different doors. It doesn't have to be a different technique for different areas. Once you understand the fundamental skeleton key, and the fundamental skeleton key is to understand human beings. Now that's an next to impossible task, but to understand what motivates them. Now, bear this in mind. What I'm about to say may not resonate with everyone watching or listening, but I promise you it's true for you, even if consciously you say it isn't to yourself. Because what I'm talking about is unconscious, subconscious, your personal laptop computer, the programs that run in the back of your mind, the things you're not consciously aware of. Every human being on this planet from birth needs to feel. Now, feelings are purely imaginary, okay? They don't have to have any basis in reality. That is why somebody who, to an outsider, has got loads of friends and family support around them can feel very alone. They feel very alone, but the reality is different to everyone else. Whereas somebody with no particular support network in life can feel completely supported because of the way they interact with strangers that they meet. So feelings don't have to, for any of the rest of us, have any basis in reality. And when you realize that, that's a step closer to realizing when you want people to connect with you, it's not reality. They want reality and credibility and something that's trustworthy and ideally guaranteed and proven as the end result. But during that decision to get to the buying decision to get there and make that decision to go for your service, product, or offering, they need to connect on a level that maybe has no basis in reality whatsoever. One where they feel safe and confident. So, to understand that more, all human beings from birth need to feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished, and valued. Now, they sound very similar, but some of them apply to self-confidence, some to self-image, some to self-esteem, some to self-control, aka willpower. So if you get a pen and paper and watch this again and write them down, it's loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished, and valued. Then get a dictionary and a thesaurus and look at what those words mean and also other meanings of them, and you'll come to realize some relate to self-confidence, some to self-image, some to self-esteem, some to self-control, aka willpower. If there is any lacking in any of them, any imbalance, or at any point, mainly from 0 to 7, Sigmund Freud, the psychotherapist, once said, sick mind fraud, as I call him, but he said from about the age of 0 to 7 are the formative years, where programs get stored into our personal laptop computer. If we feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished, and valued fully, during those years, the programs that get installed will be such that will set us up perfectly for life. But the truth is always there's some area of life where one parent or the other parent or didn't demonstrate those things fully, or maybe you got bullied as a child, or you just created your own reality where you felt that there was something missing from one of them. Pretty much everyone's got some imbalance in one of them when they were young. Mm-hmm. So that means there will be an imbalance in their self-confidence, self-image, self-esteem, or self-control, or a combination thereof, which in turn will have caused an imbalance in their self-respect, self-worth, self-love, and what I call positive selfishness. And that's the kind of selfishness where, like when you're on an aeroplane and you're with your 3 kids, and if an accident occurs, the aircrew staff say, don't put the kids' oxygen mask on first. because you could pass out and only get one of the kids on. You put on yours first, be selfish, so you can be selfless later and get all the kids on and keep everybody safe. But these things can get all affected if there's and it all starts on if people don't feel fully loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished, and valued. When you realize this, you know that your target customer, to some degree, has an imbalance in one or more of them, because unless the individual has sought out a professional hypnotherapist or other mind therapist like myself, who's gone in and helped them reprogram their personal laptop computer to balance those things out, unless they've done that, those imbalanced programs will still be running in their computer. And as much as they consciously make an effort to try and improve their life in certain areas, they're going to fail because their imagination, their unconscious mind is stronger, and that program will override all the effort they make. That's why people, put all this effort into things and then they relapse on diets and aims in life. It's not because they weren't putting in enough conscious effort. They were. It's just that their unconscious, subconscious mind is more powerful. So when you understand this, it's powerful for you in two ways. Number one, the vast majority of your target customers will have an imbalance somewhere in those things. So if through your marketing, advertising, publicity and promotion, or waving your flag on social media or the internet, or in more conventional outlets, however you choose to do it, or a combination thereof, if you are waving a flag or putting up an image, a video, a story, or something that resonates and makes them feel as though it helps them feel more loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished, or valued. So it kind of helps fill one of the holes, one of those gaps in their life that's missing. Then price goes out of the window. Right. Because they've then decided and connected that you or it is their solution, is their answer to fulfill that need. Some people turn to religion, but it can be that solution is found through, praise the Lord, the product, service, or offering that you've got on the table to offer to them. Right. And rather than focusing, there's no cliche in marketing of sell the sizzle, not the sausage. People don't buy the sausage. They want to know how bloody tasty it is and how much it will make them feel satisfied and full afterwards. And how much better it'd be if also, it gave them more confidence in life to attract the opposite sex maybe, or the same sex if that's your thing. It's about creating emotional thoughts and feelings of there being massive benefits to choosing you. Right. Choosing your thing. But not just that, this widget will do X, Y, Z like all other widgets and it'll do it better. No, it needs to be beyond that. It needs to be about how it will transform the way they feel as a human being, how it will give them more confidence in other areas of their life, or the knock-on effects. It's thinking outside the box. It's the reason why if you switch on television and look at the adverts during most programs, quite often you'll watch the advert and think, what the bloody hell was that advertising? And at the end, and next time you'll watch it again just with curiosity to find out what the heck it was advertising. And then you go, oh, right, that had nothing whatsoever to do with men's body spray or deodorant or perfume. Right. But wow, it caught my attention because now I get it. They're basically trying to say that if I wear their brand of deodorant, that I'm going to have these drop-dead gorgeous, way out of my league women dropping at my feet wanting to perform the most obscene sexual favors for me. It conjures up a mental image that creates emotions in the mind that makes people desire the outcome, and subliminally the suggestions there that to get that outcome in life, your product service is the one that will help them get it, even though logically at a conscious level, buying, for example, your services to help, teach the customer how to get more business through digital marketing and advertising online, There's no conscious correlation between that, no logical conscious correlation between that and becoming more confident. But thinking slightly outside the box, if your services help your customers to get more sales, and that through those more sales, they're then able to buy better clothes and go to a better gym and dine out in more expensive restaurants and thus increase their self-image and self-esteem and self-confidence, that will have a knock-on effect in all other areas of their life. And it's that all the other areas of their life, the bigger picture, where the emotional sale is made easier.
Yeah.
And what I'm kind of saying is people think too small a lot of the time.
Well, I mean, you've revealed a whole lot of golden nuggets there. So let's backtrack for a second. Quick recap.
Of course.
Our brain is like a computer system. There's stuff that we're thinking here, but there's a lot of stuff happening subconsciously. And obviously,
like our hard drive, the operating system is the unconscious, subconscious mind. Absolutely. The conscious mind is when it's running, but it has to rely on back here. And if we consciously are like typing in instructions, unless you're a trained computer programmer who knows how to really control that computer, it's only going to do what it's set up to do based on the programs that are running on the hard drive. So it doesn't matter how much conscious effort you make to change something. Try to give up smoking. 9 times out of 10, you'll have cravings, withdrawal symptoms, and end up relapsing because the program back here is so used to saying, have a cigarette.
Yeah. So
whereas a hypnotist, I would help people or emotionally to access the subconscious mind through emotion and energy, because anything that gets there with energy and emotion has to be released with energy and emotion. And hypnosis is the key to do that. But hypnosis,
that was my next question, actually. My next question for you. We know there's a computer running in the background, and if we can hack into that computer, we can connect with someone on an emotional level that we look like the best, I suppose, choice for them, our product, our offering. How do we actually hack into that computer in practical terms?
In practical terms, sure, a hypnotist obviously may go through a formal hypnotic induction process. There's no need to. Ultimately, hypnosis is just a word for a process that gets people to fixate their attention on one thing to the exclusion of all other distractions, so they become focused and absorbed on this, and it plants a seed in their imagination. And when they imagine it, it can kind of then seep through from the conscious mind into the hard drive computer area, the unconscious, the imagination. Because as long as they're imagining something with emotion and energy attached, it can go through, and then that creates the desire and decision to buy you, as it were. So it's about pushing as many positive emotional buttons as possible. Now, sometimes that can be best done through ramping up the pain of reminding a person what they're lacking in their life, showing them a visual image of a desert land with, I don't mean a beautiful desert land, one that looks like some dystopian image from the future of a reality that will be their worst nightmare. A visual image like that with, say, a headline like, "Is this your worst nightmare? Are you fed up of not having enough confidence, not having enough self-esteem, not being able to target the right customers, not having the right solution," or whatever? Point out all the negatives so that it creates that, it hypes up their insecurities. And then when the insecurities are hyped up and they're emotionally, consciously, sensory overloaded consciously, that means the critical faculty, analytical area of the mind, it's like the nightclub doorman going, "You can't come in." We'll get fed up because there's so much going on and kind of go for a break, at which point you can come in with the solution and suggest, or it could be called a hypnotic command, but suggest with emotion attached that the solution to all this, so they don't have to feel that bad, negative, disorientated or confused, is to buy this software or go on this course or, eat this brand of bread or use this kind of deodorant. It doesn't matter as long as it's contextual to the emotional turmoil we've caused that makes them feel bad, and then we provide the solution that makes them feel, yes, thank God for that, there's a solution, and thank you, you've given me the solution so easily. So they become thankful to us, and yet ironically we ramped up the pain in the first place.
Yeah, so I was going to ask.
It's what the British government have been doing with the mass populace to ramp up the fear, so they end up begging for the vaccine and their freedom.
No, absolutely. I think
and that's not a conspiracy theory. It's what they've been doing. They've actually set up a unit in Westminster called in Westminster near the Houses of Parliament. They've got a unit called the Behavioural Insights Team. Its nickname in the British media is the Nudge Unit, because its job is to stimulate people's emotions and nudge them in the direction they want them to, which is exactly what I've been talking about.
Well, no, absolutely. That's why they keep on releasing the daily figures in terms of how many people are getting vaccinated. So you feel isolated and you feel like, you know, you are the lone sheep out there when everybody else is obviously going to be protected. So I know there's a level of manipulation there. Now, so in terms of, I suppose, kind of doing this through copy and on social media, because what the pandemic has done, it's brought more people online. People are buying more online, we're connecting more online. You know, how can we apply some of this in what we do, say, on Facebook?
Well, there's things you already know, people watching this, things that you will already know from your backgrounds with internet marketing and stuff, which I'll just throw in there. People you may have, I don't know, digital marketing, you might not have heard of them, but in the internet marketing arena, there's people like Robert Temple, a hypnotist who I taught, who used to go under the name Mark Milburn. I taught guy you might have heard of called Simon Disney, or AKA Simon Warner, who does product launches. You know that a post that's just writing doesn't get as much interaction as something with a visual image. And you know that a video of the right kind will get more traction than just the visual image. You already know those things. So the first thing is to go outside the safety of the normal box a bit. If you can create some sort of offense or extreme joy or extreme laughter or extreme upset, an extreme emotional reaction by the image they see or the video they see combined with the headline, then that is more likely to entice people. So rather than, you know, use something that might be offensive, but use it in a context where maybe then you ask a question, so you distance yourself away from the offense by going, do you find this offensive?
Right.
In the context of, and you will get people react more to things that either offend them or stimulate them emotionally. The more they're emotionally stimulated by something, the more likely they are to pay attention to it and interact. And the best emotions you would think would be the joy and happiness ones, and loving you and trusting you, and they are ultimately, but they're not the easiest to elicit. Easier ones to elicit are offense, anger, outrage, that inner guilt of, I shouldn't have laughed at that, but I did. And then when the person's in that state of kind of either anger, fear, outrage, guilt, these are emotions that occupy people so consciously when they slip into them, that in that moment, any message, that is the moment, what I mentioned before, hijacking the feeling, the emotion, and giving them a solution. They want to escape these feelings of self-blame, shame, guilt, and regret. And if you give them a solution to that, they will love you. They will suddenly love you, like, thank you, you made me feel so much better. So often it's easier to ramp up self-blame, shame, guilt, and regret in people, and then offer them the solution and escape from that, which makes them feel better about you than if you just tried to build rapport in the first place.
Right.
It's awesome. Confrontational, it's controversial, it's outrageous, it's out there, but major, massive brands, you'd see it as much as part, you might be going, I can't possibly go doing that. Well, you know, there's a reason why major brands will purposely release, like Benetton will release a wholly offensive billboard campaign, knowing it's likely to get pulled down and banned. because that banning and offence will cause so much attention that you think, well, that's all negative attention to them. Well, it is initially, but while people are in that focused state, you can hijack it and move them from being completely offended into going, well, it wasn't quite that bad. Oh, well, actually, they've got some good things they do. Actually, well, they made me feel better. They've given me this solution. And suddenly you've kind of steered them into totally having forgotten that they were outraged at you in the first place.
Now, Jonathan, you obviously have a lot of knowledge in this area in how to apply the dark arts, if you like, of persuasion ethically. Now, obviously, we only have so much time that we can go through things here. Now, if people wanted to find out a bit more about you or how you can help them or read your content, because I know you've got a lot of content out there, where's the best place to find you?
One place, and there's tons of free stuff there. One place is magicalguru.com. That's magicalguru.com. And there's a bit on there that says free stuff. But in terms of honest use of manipulation, because that's all persuasion is manipulation of people's emotions, because their emotions create different thoughts and ways of feeling, thinking, and reacting. Click on the bit on my website called Extreme Danger, Extreme Hypnosis. I made a documentary about 18 months ago, 1 hour, 45 minutes long. It's like Hollywood feature film quality filming and editing, and it covers religion, politics, the education system, the banking. It covers all areas of everyday life and shows how emotional manipulation and persuasion is used. And when you become aware of it, then it'll put into clarity even more so what I've said in the past 20 or so minutes, and light bulbs will go off in your mind of, oh yeah, I too could use that within my business.
That's interesting. Now I'll probably have to binge on that over the weekend. On that note, Jonathan Royle, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.